Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries for a very exciting beginning to an ink exploration series that, yeah, I'm just really excited for. So you guys voted in my community that you were interested in the emotions in terms of ink palettes, and this is all based off of the Pixar movie In and Out and the kind of emotions that are tied in with that movie. And there are 27 emotions technically in the franchise. This is not affiliated with them at all by any way. It's just an artist rendition of a color palette, I guess. But the highest voted emotion was nostalgia. So we're going to start with nostalgia. And today I have 18 inks that I feel fit with nostalgia based on her color palette. I'll put a little screen grab of what nostalgia looks like from the movies in case you have not seen them or are interested in what she looks like. She's a cute little granny with rose-colored glasses, drinking her tea, her little cardigan, and I just picked a bunch of inks that I felt matched her, but also may provide a bit of a nostalgic emotion depending on how you feel. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. Supplies, I have my A5 blank 𝗦𝗵cie notebook here. I'm going to be using a pipette, my little acrylic MU stamp round, a number 2 watercolor paintbrush today, my Sailor Hokoro dip pen with the Fude nib. I have some jars of water over here, a t-shirt for a towel, and then for the samples, I will be holding them in a Olive Frogs Designs sample vial holder. This is, I guess, like the white holographic star one. Their whole team is so cool. Like, they have so many different designs, and I've been loving these, so yeah. Anyways, let's just get started with the very first ink here. This is going to be Diamine's Memory Lane. This is from the green ink vent, so I think it's part of their green edition now. But this is like a light purple with a very nice silvery shimmer. And I picked Memory Lane specifically for the name. To me, nostalgia is all about like memories and looking into the past and feeling that kind of like joy. And I felt like this light dusty purple with the silver shimmer was a really great rendition of that with the name Memory Lane, right? But also if you look at the nostalgia's characters' glasses, they are a light purple. So I figured this was a pretty decent, I don't know, I just wanted to include this one, I guess, because I felt it matched her nostalgia ways. Next up, we have an ink that I am a huge fan of. This is Wearingeul's Jane Eyre. I don't know, I just really like this light purple, and it's got some great shading, and it holds some nostalgia for me. And I say that it holds nostalgia for me personally because I was a huge fan of Jane Eyre growing up. It's probably one of the first, I guess, more romance novels that I read in school. It was like required reading, and I fell in love with the character. I realize it's not necessarily the most positive book because she does go through like lots of suffering and all that kind of terribleness, but it's almost like a coming of age thing. It's nostalgic. Like I have fond memories of this in my past. I still love this book to this day. Whenever I think about the character, it brings me a bit of nostalgia. And I felt, again, with the light purple glasses and this light purple ink, it was a pretty decent match for the color palette too. So nostalgia for me and a winner for the color palette. Cannot complain here. The next ink I chose for nostalgia is Diamine's Earl Grey. And with Earl Grey, I figured nostalgia is drinking her little cup of warm liquid, right? So why couldn't it be some Earl Grey tea? I feel like Earl Grey is just like that tea that is a little bit more refined. It has a certain palate attached to it. Might be a nostalgic moment for those of us who like to drink lots of different kinds of tea. And yeah, I'm just assuming that nostalgia, our little granny in Inside Out movies, is drinking a cup of Earl Grey tea. And I felt like the gray matched her like hair situation. I know it's not like a light gray, but you know, it kind of matches her, right? Like she's a little old lady, so she's probably got some gray hair, right? The next ink I chose is a bit more true, I think, to actually the color of her hair. And this is technically a gray, but it's also kind of pink. And this is from the Colorverse color vent that was released in 2024. This is Morning Glow. Unfortunately, this ink was not one of the ones selected to be sent out as like the top 3. But if you were if you managed to get this, I think it's a really great shader. It's just a very light ink. And with this one, like I mentioned, I feel like it's a really great representation of the actual color palette of nostalgia from the movies. But more than that, Morning Glow, I feel like is a great, again, kind of like nostalgic color. It's like soft and muted and just kind of gives that dreamy kind of look to it. I don't know. I just felt like this one matched really well, and I really wanted to include it because of that. I don't really have any other kind of special things about this ink. Next up is an ink that I chose because it's nostalgic to me, I guess. I'm also a bit sad with this one. I don't know. This one has a few emotions tied to me personally. But this is Pelikan's Edelstein Smokey Quartz. And I felt like this matched her cardigan pretty well, at least from the images I saw. And when I say this ink holds a bit of nostalgia for me, it's mainly because you can't get it anymore. At least I have not been able to find a place to purchase this ink. This lovely sample was sent to me from a pen friend, and I'm so grateful because it is a beautiful deep brown color. It has some fabulous depth, a bit of shading. It behaves beautifully. It's nice and just, I don't know, it's a great brown ink. I wouldn't say it's like a grail brown ink for me, but it's just a really great one that I wish I could get more of. Like have my own stash of it, I guess. I will cherish the sample though, don't get me wrong. It's just, it holds a bit of nostalgia for me in that way, in that it's something that's in the past that is no longer, you know, there to get now in the present. So I don't know. But yeah, it does match her cardigan pretty well in terms of like color palette wise. It also could be the color of coffee or tea if that's what she's drinking. I just feel like it's a really good match for what I'm going for here. And with that, I have another dark brown that also could be kind of like her cardigan look. And I felt like this one matched pretty well too to the color palette. And this is Ferris Press's Beaver Dam Brown. And this ink is such an interesting brown color. I don't think I've ever found another brown quite like this one, because it is more of like purple brown. The tones in this are a bit more maroon, burgundy. It's very dark and incredibly wet Ferris Press ink, first of all. But it's just a really great dark brown. Very brown black, but it's got that purple tinge to it. It's just really, really nice. Again, I felt it matched the color palette of the nostalgia character just because of her darker clothing. Also, this could be maybe like super black dark roast coffee in her mug. Could be the color of her eyes, since we never actually see her eyes because her eyes are closed with her little rose-colored glasses. It's just an option, you know, for something to add more of a darker aspect to her color palette, because she does, you know, have some darker clothing on. The next ink I chose is another brown. I felt like browns and pinks were her main color palette, so that's pretty much what I have left here. But this is Robert Oster's Choc Pudding. This was part of their holiday collection back in 2020. And I chose Choc Pudding specifically because it is a dusty brown. Also, Granny Nostalgia probably eats chocolate pudding. I'm just putting that out there. I would definitely be eating chocolate pudding as a grandma someday. But Choc Pudding is, again, that kind of dusty brown color. It has a bit of a gray shade to it. Really great flow on this ink too, especially for it being more of, I guess, a more muted color. I just really like the vibe of this color with nostalgia. I feel like a lot of us as children, at least here in the States, would have eaten chocolate pudding. So again, there's probably a nostalgic moment aspect to that. You know, in the past, eating chocolate pudding, whenever you eat chocolate pudding now in the future or in the present, it's like that kind of good memory. Like, I don't know, it's just a nice kind of good nostalgic chocolatey pudding ink. And now I kind of want chocolate pudding since I just thought about that. The next brown ink I wanted to include in her kind of color palette, or the nostalgic color palette, is Dusted Truffle by Diamine. This is also from the green edition. It is a bit more of a light tan green brown, with some silver shimmer. And like I mentioned, this is one of those kind of weirder colored inks where wet, it's kind of like a green tan, and then as it dries, it turns more into like a beigey color. It's a light brown. It's a really great ink too. Flow is really good with this bad boy. The shimmer disperses really nicely. The kind of silver tone shimmer with the cooler light toned brown looks really great together. Probably one of my favorite inks from the green edition line, just because it's such a great color. In terms of respecting it to nostalgia, I don't really feel like it's a super nostalgic color. Maybe it is, because I mean it is from years past and it's still a good ink today. I don't know, but color palette wise, I felt like it matched really well again to the kind of browns and pinky tones, and the little bits of silver shimmer could be like her hair. I don't know, I just felt like it was a good match for the color palette, and I don't know, I liked it for the color palette. We'll just leave it at that. Next, we have my second to last brown ink, and this is a Birmingham Pen Company ink called Saltmarsh. This ink does look different depending on the lighting, so I don't know how well it's going to come across on camera, but in person, it's kind of like a dusty beige color. So like I said, this ink is a bit more of that kind of like beigey soft tone color, at least in person. On camera, it may be coming off totally different. I don't know, but it has fantastic shading. As with most Birmingham Pen Company inks, the flow on this one is fantastic. The shading is fantastic. It's well behaved. I just love this brand of inks, and I really wish they were available more places. I really, really do. But for the color palette, Saltmarsh I felt matched really well to the lighter brown tones, maybe like her coffee mug. Just overall, just fits in the color palette. Saltmarsh as the name, I don't really feel relates too much to nostalgia, but in writing this is a bit more of like a vintagey looking ink, just because it has that kind of off brown, light brown tone. So maybe in some journal entries it may look a bit more vintagey, or I don't know how else to describe it other than just like a more vintage look. So maybe there's a nostalgia aspect to that. The final brown I wanted to include in this is a newer ink that I picked up recently called Anderillium's Tolype Moth Warm, and I just felt the shading in this was really great for the nostalgic color palette. Like I mentioned, I just felt that this brown fit very well into the color palette for the nostalgic character. It's more of a warm pinky toned brown, and in the shading we do even get some more like reddy orange kind of tones. Maybe more of like a blush kind of situation. It's not 100% fitting, but I felt like it was good enough for the inks that I do have in my collection to fit into this kind of color scheme I'm going for. Overall, ink-wise, it is fabulous. I've had this inked up in a 𝗦𝗵cie for I think almost a month now, and I've been loving it, and it's writing beautifully on almost everything, but that's a paper issue, not a pen issue or an ink issue. So anyways, really like this ink. Shading in it's fantastic. It's just a really cool, different kind of brown that I felt matched pretty well to what I was going for. I actually lied. I have one more brown that I wanted to include. Well, it's kind of a brown. This is Rohrer and Klingner's SketchINK Jule. It's kind of like a ruddy brown reddish pink color, and this is a waterproof ink, since it is a sketch ink, and I just wanted to include a good kind of waterproof option in case anybody was curious. And how I wanted to kind of incorporate this one into the nostalgia aspect is maybe our lovely little granny nostalgia is named Juliet or Jules or something like that. So maybe this will be her name that we go with besides nostalgia, right? Like maybe she actually has like an older name that we don't talk about anymore. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thought that I had, but color palette wise it fits in because it's that kind of ruddy brown purple pink, like it's a nice softer brown color with a bit of a redder pinker tone, and I don't know, I felt like it matched really well with the color palette too. Next I want to move into more of, I guess, a peachier tone, orangey tone, just that I felt matched maybe like more of a Caucasian skin tone, a darker skin tone. Not necessarily an exact match, but I felt like it matched the kind of colorish scheme. And this is Kobe's number 54. I believe it's Goshiyama Ocher. I probably pronounced that wrong, and I do apologize. And I do say this, that it is kind of a Caucasian color, but it's not really a Caucasian color. It's a great kind of corally orangey orangey brown, orangey pink. It's just a really great color. I think there's another YouTube channel that I was watching recently. I want to say it was Mandy over at Bookish Artist. She was using this one in a landscape painting she was doing, and the second she picked it up, I was like, that is the ink for nostalgia right there. I don't know why it just clicked for me, but this ink is beautiful. It has great shading in it. It's just a good Kobe ink. I feel like most of the Kobe inks are really good, and the color is very unique. I don't think I've found another ink quite this shade, and it's just a really pretty orangey, corally pink, brown, shady color. And the only other orange I really wanted to include, if you can call it orange, it's more of like brown pink with a slight orange lean. But this is Colorverse's Brunch Date. And I wanted to include this for nostalgia because what brunch date is not a bit nostalgic? Usually you're hanging out with old friends, you're having drinks, you're just eating really nice, yummy breakfast / lunch food. I don't know, there's just something about a good brunch date that's a bit nostalgic for me personally. But the color, it does fit the color palette that I was kind of going with in terms of like the pinky browns, oranges situation. I didn't want to include too many of this kind of color family just because it wasn't super prominent for nostalgia as the character, but I felt like we needed a couple of these in here just to kind of round out the tones that I was really looking for. Now I want to move into more of the pinks, and the first pink I'm going to go with here is a bit more of a pink brown, and this is Ferris Press's Lady Rose. I did alter this sample with some white lightning, so it might behave a bit differently, but overall color-wise I think we're going to have some success here. So Lady Rose, for the nostalgic aspect, could be the name of our lovely Miss Nostalgia. She could have been named Miss Rose or Lady Rose back in the day, who knows? But color palette wise, this is such a great nostalgic color. It's soft, it's petally, it has a bit of a pinkness to it, a bit of a beige, a bit of a brown. It's just a really nice, good, old-timey feeling color, a bit more of that vintage look to it as well. And it's just soft. It's just a good kind of warm hug of a color, which again might be a bit more nostalgic for some of us. It's just a great, I don't know, I feel like it felt really, it fit really well with the nostalgia kind of movement that this palette is going for. The next ink is a newer ink sample to me, courtesy of Angie. This is Fanyantan's Year of the Rabbit, and I don't know, this ink is just so interesting. I say this ink is a bit interesting specifically because of the shading that I've experienced in swatches. So this ink has an interesting kind of orangey, almost gray orange kind of shade thing going on with it. It's really, really pretty. I'm not 100% sure of where you can obtain the Fanyantan inks. I have not scoured the internet to look, so if anybody wants to provide that in the comments, that would be really nice. But the color I felt was really great for the pink color of either the rose-colored glasses that our lovely Miss Nostalgia is wearing, or even just kind of like the more pinky tones. Maybe she's got some like pink jewelry on or something. It just felt really good for her glasses color is really what I was going for here. And keeping on the same kind of trend of the rose-colored glasses, let's say, this is Birmingham Pen Company Rosewood Twinkle, which was gifted to me as a sample from Priscilla, so thank you. And I felt like this is a really great match overall just for nostalgia. Like I mentioned, I feel like this one fits really well in terms of rose-colored glasses, but it's also a nostalgic thing because I have been unable to get any of the twinkling inks from Birmingham Pen Company. And after trying this one and enjoying it so much and knowing that it's in the past and that it's something that I may never see again, it fills me with sadness, but also a bit of happiness to know that I get to play with this one at least. I don't know, it's kind of a nostalgic color, maybe. Overall though, it's just a kind of nice soft pink that I felt matched well with the color palette, and the little bits of shimmer that pop through, and this is really pretty. Again, going for that kind of silvery shimmer color with the silver hair of nostalgia. It's just a nice, good rounded out light pink I feel that fits well for this kind of nostalgic color family that I'm going for. Okay, we have 2 inks to go, and the second to last ink I wanted to include is Cashmere Rose by Diamine. This is part of the purple edition, or the purple ink vent, and I think you're going to understand what I mean when I swatch this one. So this color is the perfect rose-colored glasses color to me. Like if you were to go down to the store and go to the sunglasses section or the eyeglassware section or whatever, or go to a party store and look for rose-colored glasses. This to me is the actual color of the glass in those glasses. I don't know, it's just funny to me, like this whole nostalgic thing, like looking through rose-colored glasses, like looking at everything in that kind of rosy light. I feel like this is such a great ink for that. Cashmere rose, I don't know, the name fits for me, the color fits for me. It's just a great addition, I feel like, to the color scheme, and it really does fit the rose-colored glasses name. Maybe a bit more than the Year of the Rabbit and the Rosewood Twinkle, honestly. It's just a great kind of rosy color, and it's soft. I feel like it matches really well. And finally, the last color I want to include here, the last ink. This is DeAtramentis Apple Blossom, and this is a scented ink. And the reason I chose this one for nostalgia is because I believe I talked about this one of the previous times I swatched this ink on this channel. Is this ink smells like my grandmother. And I don't necessarily want to smell my grandma while I'm using a fountain pen or writing, but I felt it was very much appropriate for this color scheme, specifically because of the smell for me, but also because of the color. I mean, it's a nice kind of rosy pink color as well. It's just a really pretty pink. Honestly, the shading in this ink is beautiful too. I kind of wish that it wasn't scented sometimes, but the scent isn't overbearing. It's just a bit more of like a powdery floral smell, kind of like, you know, an older perfume, I would say. It's just perfect for me to end off the color scheme for this. I don't know. I can't explain it other than that it's perfect for that reason alone, and that it smells like my grandma. Okay, on that note, all the inks are swatched. I'm going to let these finish drying. I'm probably going to do a little bit more with the kind of typography I did here off camera. Maybe on camera, we'll see how long it takes to dry. But I will be back in a little bit with some dry swatches. We'll zoom in. I'll talk a bit more about like the ink themselves. But overall, the color palette of this is just making me so happy. And I'm really excited to continue this kind of series. And yeah, so if you didn't vote on your favorite emotion, definitely go back to my community page and add your votes into the comments, because I think next up was either joy or hope. So we'll see which one holds out at the top, but definitely this has been so much fun so far. So I'll see you guys in a minute. We'll do some close-ups and I'll be back then. Okay, I am back. Everything is dry. I went back in with my black Pentel 𝗦𝗫𝗁𝗫𝗁𝗫𝗁𝗫𝗁𝗫, my black Pentel Fude brush pen here, and just kind of outlined my nostalgia to break up some of the more, I guess, rough edges. And I absolutely adore how this looks. I am so happy with this right now. I'm going to zoom in. We're going to talk a bit more about inks and how they behave based on my experience with them. And yeah, let's just zoom in. Okay, so I started off with the purples here, and I have Diamine Memory Lane. The behavior of this ink is pretty decent. It is, I would say, on the more average flow side, and with the shimmer, it does okay. I think to some it might be a bit dry depending on what pen you put it in, but I find this one to be pretty average, and I do really enjoy this purple ink and the shimmer, and it just, yeah, it's so good. In terms of the, I guess, nostalgia aspect, I kind of went over all of that with my wet swatching. So if you're curious on how I tie these all into nostalgia, definitely just, you know, watch back through the different inks you're interested in. Anyways, moving on to Jane Eyre here. This is definitely a nice dusty light purple. The shading in it is absolutely beautiful. It goes all the way down to this kind of blackish color. I do find this to be a bit dry in most pens, but I don't know. Putting this in a TWSBI I think is my favorite way to use it, like a TWSBI medium, but it's just, I don't know, I just have really great fondness for this ink, even though I know it is a lighter color and it is a bit dry. Then we had Diamine Earl Grey, which is a great gray ink, honestly. Fabulous shading. Has bits of pinks and blues that pull through sometimes. Behaves pretty average flow-wise. It's not super wet, super dry or anything. It's just a really great standard kind of gray color with some good shading. And then we have Morning Glow from Colorverse Color Vent. I still have not put this in a pen, but I will say in swatching and everything I've used it with, it's been really nice and well flowing. I think depending on the pen, you may have a bit more of a drier experience, but the shading I think would make it really light in most things anyways. So I don't know. It's a pretty light pinky ink. I think it's best used for artistry more than anything else. Then down here I had the browns. This is Pelikan Edelstein's Smoky Quartz. Absolutely love the shading in this bad boy. I have not put this one in a pen yet either, as it is a pretty recent sample to me. I do have this lined up to use in my 30 inks 30 days this month of April, so we shall see how I feel about it after that. But I love this color. I've loved using it with all of the dip nibs and swatching and everything I've done with it. So I'm a fan, definitely a fan. Then we have Beaver Dam Brown by Ferris Press, a fabulous purple brown ink that's very deep in tone, has a little bit of like blackish sheening going on with it. I don't really have the sheen ever show up with writing. It just mainly is this nice dark chocolatey brown color, like cacao color. Yeah, flow wise on this bad boy though is a very wet ink to me. I've had great success with it in pretty much everything that I've tried it with. Then we had Robert Oster's Choc Pudding, a lovely dusty brown color. Again, this flow is really good for this ink. Not really much else going on about it except for the shading, but it's just a really, I don't know, it's just a great, like awkwardly brown gray ink. Yeah. Then we had Diamine Dusted Truffle, probably one of my favorite Inkvent inks from the green Inkvent. Just the color change while you're writing with it's so much fun. It behaves well, it writes well, the shimmer's beautiful in it. Just a really great all around ink for this one. I know it is a bit light for some, but I really enjoy this ink. If you wanted a darker one, definitely check out Jule Log from the same collection. Also has shimmer, different colors, but it behaves really well too. Then we had Saltmarsh by Birmingham Pen Co. I love the shading in this ink. I find that it writes really well. It's not super wet, but it's not dry by any means. I'd say it's like a little bit wetter than average, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. It's just a nice kind of lighter shady ink that has some pretty decent flow. Then we had Anderillium's Tolype Moth Warm. Love the shading in this one. I've been writing with it constantly in my 𝗦𝗵cie. I don't know. It's such a great color. I just love the color and the shading, and it's really nice. This swatch did have a little bit of a sheen pull through in it, but I haven't had any sheening happen with writing, so I don't know if that's just like an ink pooling quality. Then I had Rohrer and Klingner's SketchINK Jule. I think it's a really great waterproof pigment ink option out there. The flow on the Rohrer and Klingner inks is really good. I have not put this in a pen yet, so I can't speak to how well it would clean out of a pen, considering it is a pigment ink. But I do plan on working with these inks a bit more this year, I think. I did get a collection of them on sale, so I'm hoping to do some mixes and maybe create some of my own colors. But yeah, I definitely like the color of this for a waterproof ink because I know it's a bit more of a unique color that's not really readily available for most brands. Anyways, moving right along, then I had Kobe's number 54. I believe it's Goshiyama Ocher. Love this ink. The shading in it is so cool. It's just a great range of colors in one ink. It's got like pinks and greens and yellows and browns and oranges. Really great shading. Just kind of a fun time. I think it works great for this color palette, but also just by itself, it's a really interesting ink. And then I ended off the oranges with Colorverse's Brunch Date. Even though this technically is more of like a brown pink, I guess. This ink is well behaved. I find it maybe slightly dry, like less than average, like, and not by much. But the color does look really nice in pretty much anything you would put it in. And then I had Lady Rose by Ferris Press, nice pinky beige. I find this ink to be incredibly dry. I recently did this in my 30 inks 30 days for April, and that was before I tried White Lightning in it. After White Lightning, it's a little bit better. Maybe I need to add a little bit more, but yeah, it's just a really dry ink, but the color and it's so pretty and soft, so I have that going for it at least. Then I had Fanyantan's Year of the Rabbit, another ink I have not yet put in a pen as it is pretty new to me, but the shading in this ink is really pretty, and everything I've used with it, between like glass dip nibs, the 𝗦𝘁்𝗏𝗏 pen, and like other dip nibs and stuff, has flowed really nicely, so that gives me high hopes that it would be a good flowing ink in a pen. Then I had Birmingham Pen Company's Rosewood Twinkle. Love the dusty kind of blush look to this with the silvery shimmer. Really hope Birmingham Pen Company comes out with some more shimmer inks here pretty soon because I'm itching to get my hands on one. It's just a beautiful ink. Flow wise, it's beautiful. I have this inked up in my April 30 inks 30 days this month too. It's been going great. I have it in a stub nib. I love it. The shading in it's beautiful. The pink color is beautiful. It's just a good time. And then I have Cashmere Rose by Diamine, part of the purple edition. This is one of the main ones I bought a bottle of. This is my favorite rosy color right now. I like this better than the Earl Rosy Pinks. I like this better than the Aphrodite by Laban. This is like a better rose pink to me than any of those. But the shading in this is beautiful. Flow in it is pretty average. I don't find it super wet or super dry. It's just kind of a nice in the middle kind of range. And then I ended off with DeAtramentis Apple Blossom, which is the only scented ink I included with this, but the color is so pretty, shading is so pretty. I wish I could find a dupe to the color of this that did not have a scent, because I really do enjoy this kind of more soft pink with a slight purple undertone and the shading. It's just so nice. But flow on DeAtramentis inks, pretty much every single one I have ever tried has been incredibly wet and very well flowing, so this one is no exception. And lastly, before I zoom all the way out and give my final thoughts, I just wanted to kind of show my range of color here using the water. This is the Sans-In Tomoe River paper, and I feel like it handled the kind of watercolor aspect I was going for very well. I do want to practice a bit more. This was kind of an experiment, and I feel like it did well, but I feel like I could do better, as most of us probably feel that way with our art. But anyways, I'm really happy with the way it looks, and I love the kind of gradient color aspect that went along with this, and maybe I'll do this for some of the other emotions. I don't know. Overall, I had so much fun with this, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing some more emotional color palettes based on the Inside Out kind of characters. I think this was really, really fun. Let me know what you guys think about the ink choices I made. Do you feel like this palette fits our lovely Miss Nostalgia? Do you feel like there's any additions I should put in here? Part of me wanted to include 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁 by Pilot Iroshizuku just because that is a huge nostalgic ink for me, but I did not because it didn't really fit in her colors. But let me know what you guys think. If you have any to add, if you have any favorites, yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Other than that, I wish you the best, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.